This is The Naked Patient, Beyond the Operating Room. Listen as Dr. Nicholas Howland talks with real patients about their real experiences with plastic surgery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Naked Patient Podcast. I'm Dr. Nicholas Howland. Today, we are with my very good friend and therapist, Jed Thorpe with Meaning to Live. And Jed, just introduce yourself. Thanks for coming on, man.
Great. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here to introduce myself. I always get a little backed up on that question.
Yeah, the start's always awkward.
Yeah. What does that even mean? You want where I was raised? What happened? Like,
what's the most significant thing about you that people should know?
I don't even know who I am, really, because don't we just change throughout? So here's
oh my God, the most therapist answer ever.
Here's who I am. A human, right? Just having a human experience. Born in San Diego. Dad died when I was 3. Don't even remember him, but still affected by it, which happens later on in life. Mom remarries stepdad by the name of David Turner, and then he moves us to Washington, Utah, population 3,000 or something like that.
Okay.
Real southern, dirt roads. It's not connected to St. George, Utah, like it is now. You know, really
yeah. You had to work to get there.
Couldn't get to St. George. And that's where I was raised.
Okay. That explains a lot for me.
Yeah, right? I guess, I know. I gave you a heads up. I'm not good at talking about myself, so.
That's okay. Listen, you know what I've realized about this podcast? It's therapeutic for me. That's why I don't need you anymore, because I've got the podcast doing therapy.
Yeah, perfect.
No, so this is a unique episode because you are really the first person who's been on this who hasn't actually had plastic surgery from me.
Correct. Other than Botox.
Yes, we've done some Brotox, as we like to call it. But yeah, you've never had any plastic surgery from me. But I wanted to bring you on here. Thank you. I love that. It's on camera now for the world to know. I love you because you have really changed my life for the better. B, I think you're an incredible therapist. And C, I think that a lot of times in these episodes, some things come up, and really just in plastic surgery in general, things come up that could really be handled or addressed by a trained professional therapist.
Yeah. Agreed.
So for example, I had a podcast where a patient came on and she said, well, just so you know, I have really bad body dysmorphia and that's why I had my surgery with you. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
After the fact?
Yes.
Oh, unacceptable.
Like day one of plastic surgery school is don't operate on people with body dysmorphia. Do you see anybody with body dysmorphia in your practice? So
I think your idea of body dysmorphia might be a little different than my idea of body dysmorphia, because according to the DSM, you have to have a certain amount of symptoms for a certain amount of time to qualify for the diagnosis. So what are some of those things? Like what separates 1% to 2% of people have this?
Oh, it's very small.
Very small. Very small. More twice, like what, 4% psychopaths. So it's just a good way to put it in perspective.
There's more psychopaths than there are body dysmorphia.
Twice as many psychopaths as there are. So, but that said, I don't want to downgrade or minimize the mental illness, so to speak.
No, it's a real thing.
For sure.
And it is a very serious thing that you shouldn't operate on those 1% to 2% of people, because it can actually conflagrate, worsen their symptoms, and they can spiral downward after an operation.
Ooh, yeah.
And so what I see a lot of, though, that people will call body dysmorphia but isn't really is insecurities.
Oh, yeah.
And I took that from you.
Yeah.
And people are more insecure about a particular area of their body, and that's what's presenting them for plastic surgery. It's not body dysmorphia. Society might see it as, oh, they've just got body dysmorphia, but it's really just an insecurity about their body.
Yeah, right on the money. And don't we just, seems like we try to lump things into some kind of label or other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, they're OCD or they're narcissists or whatever, when really they're probably not. And that's one of my pet peeves is like when someone's like, I'm OCD. And immediately I think, oh, well, we need to talk about that. You know what I mean? Because that can be life debilitating, just like body dysmorphia, life debilitating.
Yeah.
And then it ends up that they're actually just, you know, they don't like when books are out of order or something like that. You know, it's not life debilitating.
Yeah.
Where real OCD, like you can't leave a chair without touching it 4 times, where it really hinders your life.
Absolutely. And I know some real OCD people, and it does completely hinder their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking this is a therapist, specially trained, you know, for that. That's fantastic.
So what I guess one of my biggest questions when I was kind of thinking about bringing you on here is what can Jed offer the listeners of this podcast? And that's kind of a hard thing, because I think the listeners are people who follow me, so they're somewhat adjacently associated to plastic surgery or interested in plastic surgery. Like, what as a therapist do you think you best offer those people?
Easy. So there's a difference between guilt and shame. A lot of times people hide the information around, I've got a nose job, or I've got this, or a facelift, or whatever it might be, because of shame. So people watching here, if they're keeping it a secret, if it's a secret, there's some kind of shame involved somewhere. And shame is, I am bad. It's a real owning. I am a bad person. I am weak. I am, you know, fill in the blank. Whereas guilt is, I did something bad. Neither of which apply to plastic surgery ever. And I'm actually, I mean, maybe somebody can figure out a way that it applies, but I just don't see it. So hopefully my being here will normalize the whole thing. And now, do I think that there's instances where it's unethical or where it's mentally unhealthy? For sure. Oh yeah. For sure. Overall, I don't think a lot of people are in that category.
I love that you bring up guilt and shame, though, because we haven't talked about that much. And I think that's a lesson that you have really had to work on with me, is this idea of I am bad. So I'm gonna open up a little bit here, and I'm gonna kind of tell the story of how I came to meet you.
Are we including names?
No, we won't include any names, and I won't talk poorly of anybody either. But I had a relationship where I was basically given an ultimatum to go to therapy or stay in the relationship. And
my favorite.
Yeah. And I said, okay, fine. I will go to therapy and I will fix the things, because in my mind, what I believed and what I was being told is you are bad.
Yeah.
You have things that you need to fix in order to make this work.
Shame on you.
Yes.
Your issues.
Yes. And I believed it. I fully believed it. And the very, very first session that I had with you, I left that session and I said, I need to be out of this relationship.
Oh, I was wondering where that was going to go. I wasn't sure, like, that's crazy what happened in there or whatever. And
you helped me realize immediately that, and I talked about this with the last person who was on my podcast, is that at my core, Nicholas is a good person. And I didn't know that. Really, 40 years I didn't know that. I always associated my self-worth with my actions.
Not always, but ever since you can remember.
Yeah.
Ever since you can remember.
Fair. That's a good point. Somebody taught me that somewhere. And I went away from that with the first time in my life feeling like, hey, like I've done some things that I'm not proud of. I've done some things that I'm holding shame for, and we'll figure that out. But I know at my core that I'm a good person.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we then went on this beautiful journey of therapy together, where I'm still working on my I'm still working on myself, but that was the start of Nick really actually working on himself 40 years in, and then realizing, okay, what do I got to do? And it came from an ultimatum from a relationship.
That happens a lot.
Which I loved.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
And so what's crazy too is I came into that therapy session angry with that person, and came out of that therapy session knowing I needed to leave that person, but knowing that I was really grateful for that person for getting me to you.
That's amazing.
And that's the only way that I kind of look at her now is with this view, this lens of gratitude of, man, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't have found Jed.
So that's the trick out of getting out of that victim stance too. Isn't that cool? So, and by the way, like, and you've heard me say this over and over, anytime someone says, thank you, Jed, thank you, this and that, I have to flip it around, because you're doing the work. You are. It's not me. It's not me. You're doing all the work. I say much of the same stuff in different ways to a lot of people. Some people will pick it up and some people won't. And that's okay either way. But it's not my responsibility or value or, meaning and purpose that somebody has to do well in therapy. Yeah. Because I don't have any control over that. So good work. Good work, man.
Thank you.
You did that.
I will take that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm still working on them. I come away from those core values too many times, and then I remind myself.
Yeah,
you do forget, and then I remind myself. Okay, we're gonna recenter.
Yeah. Well, look where we live. This world is full of misinformation. 40 years, Jed. 40-something years I was old until I heard this. This isn't even taught in schools. Isn't that wild?
It is wild.
Emotional intelligence isn't taught.
So go back to when I said 40 years I've felt this way. You said no, somewhere along the line you picked it up. What? Yeah. Talk to me about that. Where do people pick these up?
Is environment. Environment. And you'll see this in there's a thing called ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, where kids who have had not the most stable of environments, or caregivers that suddenly disappear, will have a different view and experience growing up, which will then reflect on their adult life. But right from the get-go, it's almost like we're computers, like the massive, awesome blank computers. And as we go along, we get this programming. Some brains in our infancy, as we grow up, really good programming, stable, supportive, good belief systems. Some parents will teach this stuff right out the gate.
Yeah.
Other kids, no. And I can see why not. This isn't really taught.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this isn't a belief system that you were just born with, Nick.
Yeah.
It's not something you were just born with. You were born rock and roll, and then through in the environment and through experiences, and by the way, how you perceive things, learned it.
And you have always taught me that the most important thing that therapy doesn't provide a cure for anybody. Therapy provides awareness.
Yeah.
And I've actually said that on this podcast before.
It's so important.
And you have always told me, listen, I'm not going to fix you. You're going to fix you. And I'm going to give you the tools to be aware of certain behaviors and certain patterns. And then what you do with that awareness is on you.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things to say. I wonder what you'll do at the end of the session.
Yes.
I wonder what you'll do.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I come back for my next session and I'm like, you'll be so proud. And sometimes my head is just hung low. And I say, well, here we are again.
Yeah. And I'll probably chuckle. You know what I mean? Like and that's okay. You know what I mean? I'm not laughing at you.
Yeah.
You're just having an experience and working through whatever the universe is needing you to work through. And here you are.
Until you figure it out.
Thank goodness for that person that forced you to go to therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. I'm forever grateful. I always will be. So I'm going to make you keep talking about me.
I can do that.
Good.
Much more comfortable talking about you.
in your therapy sessions with me, so we probably saw each other for 3 years off and on. For the first little bit, it was really pretty consistent. And then I would kind of go away for a little bit, and then I would come back when I was like, okay, Jed, I'm back away from my core values. What is, and this is a general question, not just about me, but also about, I guess, your other patients. What was the most frustrating part about being my therapy provider?
That's a good question.
And then kind of expound that to your other patients. What's the most frustrating thing as a therapist for them?
That's a good question. Let me reframe it into a way that everybody will probably be able to connect with.
Okay.
If you love, like, I can't say love something, but if you have a lot of value in somebody, and I really do feel like I value people, value them. I feel like I see them. I see them for what I believe they are, which is typically more than what they believe they are. So imagine you just love something so much and you're so connected to it and you value them so much, but then they keep walking into, a fire or something like that and keep getting hurt. Just keep getting hurt over and over again. And you're like, I believe in you. You've got this. Here's all the stuff. We've identified some stuff, and then they go and they, get hurt again. They walk back into the toxic cesspool of whatever unhealthiness they are trying to get clean from. Right. So that's probably the most frustrating thing. Yeah. In my head, hands down, okay.
What's funny is I will always tell people that I admire people who can be told that the fire is hot and not need to touch it. Because for whatever reason, I am the guy who needs to touch it friggin' 8, 9, 10 times before I'm like, oh yeah, that fire is really pretty hot.
Yeah. So when that happens, because you sometimes in the sessions, and this is okay, I'm not as needy on outcome as I have been years and years ago, but sometimes people don't want to change their behaviors. And when that happens, then we'll just say, what are the secondary gains that you've got going on with that?
Do you know as a therapist, right off the bat, when somebody's just bullshitting you?
No. But a lot of time I do.
Okay. What gives it away?
Usually people can't keep their stories straight. There's lots of eye movements and this and that. Mostly for me, though, it's just I don't believe that. I don't believe that. But by the way, I don't say I don't believe that in the session. Oh, no. I'm not going to say that. Sometimes I will if I have a good enough rapport. Come on, man. Yeah. Come on.
Well, the reason I actually asked that question is I for a long time in sessions, and I still sometimes am like, well, I'm gonna tell him this, but I'm not gonna give him this detail. Or I'm gonna hold some of this truth back.
Everybody, yeah.
Or I'm gonna paint myself in a much better light here than the person I'm struggling with.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty obvious. I'm guessing. Yeah. as the guy sitting on that opposite side of the couch.
Yeah. Very common. And that's not my job, by the way, to decipher and tell if someone's lying. I hear and I listen, and sometimes people will not realize that they are doing something inappropriate, out of social norms, you know what I mean, of what emotional intelligence and good healthy boundaries might be, or good healthy communications, or good healthy behaviors. They might not know, but in that instance, they'll be like, oh, that's something that isn't a good mom behavior or something like that. It's not a good son behavior, or you know what I mean? And they're like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, let's talk about, what's actually going on here and what the perspective might be. And they're like, oh, okay. Sometimes they like it, sometimes they don't. Yeah. It's kind of the trick in therapy where you kind of have to just figure out when is a good time to lay out truth like that. And sometimes I won't. Yeah. Sometimes I won't. It's not the right time.
Yeah.
So I'll just listen. Okay.
You and I once got into some trouble on social media.
Well, that was a learning experience.
It was
learning,
but what's funny is I love your approach to therapy. I love my approach to plastic surgery and marketing. Do you want to share your part of that story?
Yeah. From what I can remember, and memory's faulty.
Oh, for sure, that's fair.
Very faulty, and it happened so long ago. That's when you put up some billboard or something like that.
So we've talked about it on the podcast before, but I put up a billboard that said, God's remodeling his temple. Isn't it time to remodel yours?
Yeah. And got a lot of flack from it.
A lot of flack. I had a picture of the Salt Lake LDS temple under scaffolding.
Mm-hmm. And if memory serves, I said something like, hey, I'm here for whoever needs it. I don't even remember exactly.
Oh yeah, I think
it was interpreted completely
the wrong way.
Yeah, yeah. But here's what I learned from that. Mm-hmm. I learned something good because they came at me and and in my head I'm like, I need to help them understand where I was coming from.
Yeah.
But the more I gave them information. And well, here's this, and I went through energy and time trying to. But all they did was just use that to further give merit to their perspective and their twist on stuff.
Oh yeah.
To hurt and what troll? That's the word. That's the first time I was actually really ever trolled.
Exactly.
Right? Not wild.
Exactly.
And so I learned. Don't give that energy, Jed. Don't give that. Don't do it.
I felt awful. So during that time, I got lambasted by people who thought I was body shaming women, which was and you and I had talked, I think, about the billboard before I put it up. I was like, this is my idea. My whole idea is it's really bad to tell somebody they need plastic surgery done. It's just as bad to tell them they can't have it. Mm-hmm. Because your body's a temple, which in my mind kind of implies shame. I didn't
know that was a thing.
Really?
Is that a thing where I know it's like it was a thing where like tattoos and stuff. Your body's a temple. You shouldn't be coloring on it.
Growing up, I think, especially in Utah culture, a lot of us growing up here would always hear your body's a temple, mm-hmm. and whether that was taught from a doctrinal standpoint or not, I think a lot of people took that to be like, well, I can't get tattoos, I can't have multiple piercings, I can't do plastic surgery because my body's a temple.
I didn't know about the plastic surgery part. I'd never heard that.
And, like I said, I think that's something that people may have internalized on their own or decided on their own. But my experience, and I will always only just ever speak from my experience, was that people would hide plastic surgery because it was somehow a shameful thing.
Yeah. Wild, right? That's wild. People do orthodontia. They do all sorts of things like, basically like the orthodontia piece is a huge one in my head. Mm-hmm. You're going to get your teeth altered to be perceived more socially acceptable or whatever. And I don't see
fix your visible skeleton, but no other part of your body.
I don't even, here's my thing. I'm going to rant a little bit. People who have that much power and emotion around a billboard like that, it's not about the billboard. It's probably more about, and this is going to be a weird turn. Maybe I think people who need or have value of I'm a protector of women's rights. I'm a protector of people who have been shamed. If people find value in themselves or even from other people, I think they will find that stuff more and bring it out and almost construct ways to kind of create, a mountain out of a molehill, so to speak.
Sure.
Just to make themselves feel better or to feel or be perceived in a better light by whatever. Oh, I'm getting ranty.
No, I like it. It's like I love, this is something that I love watching in therapy sessions with you, because you can tell that during therapy sessions, Jed's like learning as he's explaining.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing.
I love that part.
Oh,
I love that part. We're like, hey, we're here together.
Yeah.
We're learning something. I'm having this awareness with you right now.
It's incredible. I can only imagine you leave sessions like, oh, I'm a better therapist after having that session.
And I think I'm grateful. Grateful for it. I'm happy to be part of that journey.
Yeah. Back to the billboard. I think you are describing like a self-validation loop almost, where people are just like, they see that, they latch onto it, and then it just feeds what they already believe.
Yeah. And then they latch onto it, and then they put fire on it. Yeah. You know, because now if I'm a firefighter, I need to have, I've never come up with this analogy before. If I'm a firefighter and I take great pride in being a firefighter, I need to find fires. How else am I going to feel valuable?
Yeah. It's fair.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I love that analogy. Yeah. We'll put that on the Instagram clips.
So yeah, I think I get this gift from my Aunt Teata, great aunt. She's an Indian storyteller. Okay. But I come up with analogies, different analogies, constantly. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
Aunt Teata.
Thanks, Aunt Teata. So you then, I'm going to finish our story about the billboard, I promise.
Yeah, I get a little distracted.
No, I love it. I start getting 1-star reviewed from people who felt like I was body shaming, even after I'm explaining, no. Like, you're missing the whole point of this. That's the opposite of what I'm doing. And I start getting review bombed. And then you started getting bad reviews because somebody was like, look at this jerk therapist who agrees with this guy, and he's a therapist, for crying out loud.
They shamed me good.
Oh my God. I felt so bad. I felt at my core that I was hurting your business. And I remember texting you like, Jed, what can I do? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I don't remember the specifics, but I imagine you would feel like that, but also I had part in it too. And you did take it down pretty fast. We took it down quick. I don't think people are doing anything wrong if they don't know they're doing something wrong.
For sure. I like that. Yeah. I like that approach. That's how I justify a lot of things.
Yeah. Or explain yeah. But I'm thank you for caring about my business.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Trying to protect me.
So we're trying to protect both of us. But there was something else that came out of that, where in one of those comments somewhere you were talking about how your approach to therapy, where you made another joke that they didn't like. It just fed that thing. And it was something about how you're a good therapist because your patients don't come back.
Nah, I don't even remember that.
Or
it was going to go inside out kind of thing.
It was like, my patients never come back because they're cured after seeing me enough times.
Oh, I don't even remember that.
And
that's funny.
I loved the joke, and they latched onto that. But I do like that approach to therapy. I mean, there are therapists who are like, I'm your therapist for life.
Yeah. Right on my website, front page. Do you need therapy? Not always. I'm not supposed to say that. It's a bad business model.
Well, and that's why we connect so well, though. Like, people come into my office every day. What do I need done? Nothing.
I love that.
Nobody needs plastic surgery, because really, nobody needs it.
Yeah.
I am in a business that is completely unnecessary. There are some times when it's,
helpful.
Yes.
Yeah. Very, very helpful.
And so, but I fully believe that plastic surgery is very empowering. And so my response to them is, you don't need anything, but tell me the things you don't like. And I've got a whole toolbox of ways we can address that and ways that we can help that.
Yeah.
And your approach to therapy is similar.
Yeah. Yeah. In my head, if you need it, you're in trouble. If you need it, it can control you if you need it.
Yeah.
If you need something a certain way, if you need to make this much money, if you need to have this much prestige, if you need to be married, if you need to whatever, then you're probably going to have a real hard time if that need isn't met. Versus, I don't need it. It'd be nice though. It'd be nice though.
That's a great approach. I mean, you always see that approach with like money or with things. You know, is it a need or a want? But that's such a cool way to look at just life, everything in life.
I love that you like, hey, let's realize that it's not something you need to be okay, right? But it's something that would be beneficial in your life.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's awesome.
Versus, see, in your field, if you like, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, this is what's wrong, oh, you'd be really busy. And in my field, the equivalent of that would be, you've got this label, you've got that diagnosis, this is all the things that are messed up in your life, like, and where's the hope?
But there are people that do that, right? I mean, and I know there's therapists that do. I'm going to let you talk on that.
Get me ranting.
There's plastic surgeons who do that. I remember a scene. I think I've probably talked about this on the podcast. If you're listening, I tell the same stories. Keep listening. Nip Tuck, which was a very popular plastic surgery television show back in the day. One of the first episodes, this plastic surgeon has this girlfriend who's knockout. And she knows it, and she's confident, and she tells him, I'm a 10. And he pulls out her lipstick and gets her clothes off and draws all over her. Like, just here's a little bit of fat. Here's your breasts are sagging a little bit. Here's where your face doesn't look good. And at the end, she's just completely covered head to toe. And he says, you're like a 7 at best. And but I could help you get to 10.
Do you see that? It's such a good business model to make money. You know what I mean? Good business model. And it's a good example, too, of how belief systems come before the emotion. They come before. So in this one, this girl
hold on, educate me here.
It's a great example. This girl walks in with a belief system that she's a 10. I look good. I walk around. I get attention and everything else. And I got thoughts, Nick. I have thoughts. And I own my own business, so I have time to like really think about stuff. Thank goodness. Oof. Where was that? So she thinks she's a 10. That's a belief system. She feels confident, feels good, and she behaves accordingly. Goes in there. He offers her a completely different belief system. This is what's wrong with you here. This is what's wrong with you here. You're actually not a 10. Takes that belief system. Doesn't take it. He can't take belief systems away, but he says, you're not a 10. This is my belief system of what you are. Yeah. A 7. And she has that choice right there. Some people would have been like, well, see ya.
You're crazy.
You're crazy. Yeah. And they wouldn't have picked it up. Other people would pick that up. You know what I mean? So if she picks that up, guess what happens to her emotion? Gone. It's a fear, anxiety. I'm not good enough. And then what happens to her behavior? Changes. She's not confident. She doesn't look up. She doesn't leave people's, she might choose men who don't treat her like a 10. You know what I mean? Yeah. Isn't that wild?
It is. How do you, so you as a therapist then, how do you strengthen the right belief system, or how do you identify and bring awareness to the right belief system?
That's tricky because there's a thing called psychological blind spots. People don't see this stuff. And even if you do say, hey, here's the truth, they don't believe it. You can prove it to them. You know, that's the whole, like, the body dysmorphia. That's where that really, you're the successful doctor, but you were like, no, I'm not enough. I'm this and that. You can have all the documents and the certificates and all the money in the bank and all the prestige, and it can prove to them that this is the truth. But if they have a belief system that they picked up from long ago and they've been nurturing it and everything else, man, you won't convince them. They'll still believe that they're not the truth. They'll believe this. Yeah. So to convince that, you can identify it, but you have to figure out where that came from. Yeah. Yeah. Figure out where that came from.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. We're in that instance, acceptance.
Yeah. My mind's getting blown today.
Really?
Oh, I love your perspective of it.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to be like a dick, but it weirds me out when people are surprised by this. Because in my head, it just, I think about this, I study this, but you're a doctor, so you're doing all sorts of things all throughout the day. Your time is doing not thinking about this.
Yeah.
That's an eloquent way to say it right there. But yeah.
Well, and I don't want people to leave, listening to the podcast thinking that we're on here saying that I'm the only doing plastic surgery the only right way, or Jed's doing therapy the only right way. But I certainly think it's a better way than pointing out flaws and then changing belief systems to less than.
We can't judge people.
No.
So yeah, the doctor that points all that stuff out, he very well could be thinking he's doing that person a favor.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm helping this person. Remember, you're not doing anything wrong unless you know it's wrong.
Oh, it's true.
Isn't that wild? That's why everybody judges.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out of the way right now.
For sure.
Everybody judges. It's figuring out how to control that judgment and then to look past your initial like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because we want to judge harshly too, don't we? We want to, like we're trained to find fault in stuff. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with that? Where are you doing it wrong?
Yeah.
So, and even if they did know that they were doing it wrong and that they're hurting that person's esteem so they can get business, which I'm sure happens in the addiction field, for sure that happens. Everybody's on their own journey. You know what I mean?
What do you mean in the addiction field that happens?
Oh, you don't want me to get started on that. Do not want me to get started on that.
Trying to keep that part out.
I don't see the need, right? If I need something, I have to cater and be, controlled by what I say. That's call out culture. This is happening all over.
Okay.
You can't say certain things. In my head just now, I'll be vulnerable. In my head just now, I thought to myself, if I say this out loud, so fast, it happens so fast. If I say this out loud, because I'm in network with Select Health, and if this doesn't align with some doctor at Select Health that doesn't like what I say, I could have my business, my livelihood.
Sure.
And it is my family's livelihood. 2 kids, a wife, you know what I mean? These people depend on me. So I'm like, you kind of, I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
Be that as it may. I don't like the addiction model that's utilized of it being uncurable. I don't like it. You're always an addict. I don't.
Meaning, like, you don't like the model that says it's a disease.
As it is. I don't like that model that it's a disease, because automatically, even though you can like say, yeah, look, the brain changes here and it says altercations here. Yeah. But the message that gives is that you'll always have the disease. You're not curable.
Yeah.
And it really ties people down. It gives them a label, and how empowering can that be?
Not at all.
You know what I mean? Like if I have a small penis and I'm like, I got a small penis, I'll always have a small penis, I guess. You know what I mean? And if people put, I can't believe I'm saying this.
Then you're small penis Paul forever.
Right, small. I don't know who that is, but
I don't either.
Yeah, like that's not really hopeful.
No, not at all. Well, here's the flip side too. It's not only is it not hopeful, but a lot of times for those people, it becomes an excuse. It becomes a crutch. I'm an alcoholic and there's nothing I can do to change it, so I'll always be an alcoholic.
Yeah. So my whole thing, isn't that so sad? Like, this is who I am, right? I am. Anything that follows that whole I am thing, you got to be real careful, because I don't think we're the same people. Even. No. We're not the same. I'm not the same as I was yesterday. Yeah. I'm different. Even like physiologically, I'm different. So, yeah, my thing is figure out why you're covering up the emotion.
Yeah. Well, that I am is so powerful. And it's powerful in both ways. It's really powerful in the negative way, but it can be extremely powerful in the positive way. I mean, that's, the book, The Secret, and all these other, inspirational, influencers and books and things that have talked about that. So I had, I'll share a story with you about I am. I had a cool experience where I was actually praying, and I was saying a prayer of gratitude. And my religious beliefs are a little in flux. I've gone I've been excommunicated from the Mormon Church twice, and so I've gone from
overachiever.
I know. Once wasn't enough. I've gone from like fully devout belief system in a heavenly Father to full blown atheist. There's nothing there. To but I still prayed, and I had this disconnect of who am I praying to, and to now. There is definitely a higher power, and so I'm in this moment in prayer where I'm thanking this higher power. Thank you for this, and I'm thinking of all the good things in my life. Thank you for my friends. Thank you for my amazing therapist, Jed. Thank you, ex-therapist Jed. Thank you for my patience. And I had this kind of voice or realization where it said, "Don't say thank you. Say I am." And I started saying, instead of the things that I was grateful for, the things that I wanted, or the things I was thankful for, I just said, I am. So I am friend. I am success. I am wealth. I am good plastic surgeon. And that statement is just as powerful for the positive and for the good as it is for I am bad, I am terrible, I am a piece of shit. And so I've tried to flip it that way in my own life and use it for that. I don't know. That was a cool experience I had.
I love that. Yeah. I am okay. I am okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's powerful. Words are powerful. Our brains believe stuff.
It's true.
Our brains believe stuff.
Yeah.
Like that, the whole secret book, The Law of Attraction. That's what if I'm working with someone who's struggling through addiction, I said, don't put your focus on, I'm sober now for 78 days. I can't, I don't want to do drugs. I don't want to do drugs. Your brain's not going to interpret that. It's a doer. Your brain's a doer. It's just going to it'll filter out what it can't do. And it'll just, I want to do drugs. I want to do drugs. You know what I mean? And it'll put power and focus into that.
Yeah.
So it's like you're like Cyclops. So
what is your alternative approach then to counteract that model that you don't like?
Oh, so are we treating it like Voldemort?
Sure. Right, I don't know where this is going.
Disease model, sure. Right? Like, at least the way you phrase that. You didn't say hey, what other approach do you like since you don't like the disease model?
Fair. Yes.
Yeah, yes. Anyway. I don't like the idea that there's a lot of things I do like about, disease model. Really pushes AA. And there's things about AA that, but I love the connection part. I love the connection. I love the reaching out for help part. It's powerful. I love that you're going somewhere, but eventually, here's where I break off. Eventually, I don't want a client of mine to just replace, a meeting, or anything, or even a therapist. I don't want that to be a replacement or a crutch for said client. I want them to figure out how to be okay without anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Without any maintenance, because that's a belief system. I gotta go. That's a really, and there's obviously merit to the whole year. It's your brain takes a while to rewire itself after you've been addicted or in substance abuse for a long time.
Yeah.
And there's also something to figuring out, where your environment is attributing to that kind of stuff. So I like the idea that you're going somewhere for a while, but ultimately you're not incurable. You're recovered.
Yeah.
You're recovered. Not I get people mad. Hey, disease, no. You're always in recovery. What a just nasty beliefs, disempowering in my head.
It is. There's no hope there.
Yeah. I don't like the idea of needing something all the time. You're never okay. Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that goes back to your core belief that you taught me that very first session, which is you are good. You are powerful and good at your core.
Yeah.
And you like see humanity that way.
Yeah.
Which I think is really, it's unique. It's beautiful. And it's a great way to live.
Oh, well, thanks. I think that I agree. It was yin and yang, you know, everybody like sees this negative, but remember there's a balance. So you're just not seeing the good and the positive stuff. It has to be happening. This is a balance. Life is all about balance. Yeah. Universe goes by that rule. Yeah. Right? It's all a balance. Yeah. And by the way, if you're feeling guilty, I can prove that you're good.
Yeah.
If you're not good, you're not feeling guilty. If you're doing bad things, you know it. I mean, you have no cognitive dissonance, where it's where your values are out of alignment with your behaviors. If I'm like cheating on my wife and I'm having no cognitive dissonance, I'm in alignment, then I would say, why are you in therapy? Because you have no negative emotions, you know? And B, yeah, okay, maybe you are a bad person. And if that's the case, there's rattlesnakes out there. And they serve a purpose too.
Work. That's fair.
They serve a purpose.
So, God, this went in so many places I didn't anticipate.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. I envision you kind of coming on as a recurrent guest to kind of go over any themes that come up in patients with plastic surgery. Because I've noticed that these sessions are very much like a therapy session. And one of my reasons for doing this podcast was not only to address the shame in plastic surgery that the society puts on patients, but also to let patients kind of talk about and overcome their own shame associated with their procedures.
I love that.
I have patients that come on all the time. They're like, I don't know if I'm ready to talk about that. I don't know if I want people to know about that.
Which is shame. Isn't that wild? And then, I don't want people to know I have braces.
Yeah.
See how like off that is? Remember, if I'm a firefighter, I need to have big fires in my life. Maybe I'll even make big fires. So sometimes I think when it comes to culture, if they have a big need of being a shame identifier, right? A protector of people who might be being mistreated, they will create mistreatment of people where mistreatment of people isn't even a thing.
Yeah.
They'll create it. So I wonder, and this is what we're having this together. I wonder if we're, for me anyway, am I figuring out, having awareness right now that shame, if it's a cultural thing, is propped up with the cultural belief that something needs to be a certain way, and they need to continually identify that to feel better about their standing in the culture or something like that. Are you with me on that? I'm not sure what my brain's trying to uncover there.
I like it. You're working through stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I want to bring you on, though, is we'll address some things that come up as patients work through those issues. Body dysmorphia is at the top of a lot of these that comes up. And so I'm glad we addressed that today. I even have this idea that you'll come on with a patient. Well, that we might have to figure out just because they'd have to release waivers and things like that. But I think having a therapist available for plastic surgery patients is so important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Going back to this show, Nip Tuck, which I watched too much Nip Tuck. It was popular when I was going for plastic surgery.
I love that you're doing what you love. You know what I mean? This is interesting to me. I'm going to do this.
In this show, they bring a therapist into their practice, and she becomes a recurring actress on the show. But all of their patients were required to meet with her and be cleared by her before having surgery. I don't know if that's a thing that I need to do in my own practice, but I thought it was unique on the show.
I love that. So, and here's like, if you need it, it's a problem. That's what it comes down to. If you need it to be okay, it's a problem. If I was the therapist in that clinic, if really, if anybody comes in, I say, why are you doing it? What's the motivation? And then I would see, where do you feel not enough? I'm not enough. My wife doesn't like my bald head or something like that, whatever it might be. I'm not enough here. Then let's figure out, because it's not going to work. That's probably why they have a therapist there. You go into plastic surgery thinking it's going to fix or change your whole mental thing. Yeah. Well, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Oh yeah. Because if you're this much out of hedonic treadmill. Have you heard of that?
You've talked about this.
Yeah, we talked about this. So the hedonic treadmill, if you're a happy 4 out of 10 of happiness, and if I get my something, if I was a little taller, I'd be a 6 out of 10. Per the hedonic treadmill, this is research, this is science, you'll only be a 6 out of 10 for a couple of months. And then you'll go back to your normal range. That's all. That's the hedonic lottery winners, they do studies on this stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, life's great for a couple months, and then you go back down to your normal thing.
Yeah.
So plastic surgery isn't going to make you happy. Yeah. That's probably why people keep coming back. If you have
for sure, it becomes a cycle. Thing. It becomes a cycle, and people kind of say, "Well, now I'm addicted to plastic surgery," and no, it's just that hedonic treadmill that you talk about.
Yeah.
And as the plastic surgeon, we're all required to kind of be that therapist. Those are the questions that I ask, and why are you doing it?
Yeah.
What's this for? I tell more husbands and boyfriends in my practice, shut up. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
I don't care why you want this done. And then I have to say,
that weirds me out.
Yeah, and then I have to look at the patient and say, tell me why you want this done. This isn't for him. We don't care what he thinks or she or whoever else. And I have to be the therapist. I'm not trained to be the therapist.
Well, you could, they won't tell you the truth anyway, if the person that they're doing it for is right there.
Yeah.
They're,
so here's a question. So how do I, as a plastic surgeon, get people off of that hedonic treadmill?
That's a good question.
I try to
see it.
I try to explain to my patients, listen, this is not going to make you happy.
Yeah.
That's not what this is.
Yeah.
This
you have that banner, it's not going to fix anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will give you confidence. This will give you awareness.
Yeah.
And then what is it that you say at the end? Let's see what you do.
Yeah, let's
see what you do.
So I think that, how do you change that is the question. How do I change that? If you see somebody repeatedly coming in, well, it'd be good to address, at least say, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Because you can't change people.
No.
All you can do is make them aware of what you're observing.
Yeah.
So that would be a first,
Yeah. And I say no more, especially more now 5 years in than I did at the start.
Yeah.
And it's a thing you learn. I think every plastic surgeon in their practice goes through that, where they learn who they say yes to and who they say no to. And I had a patient just the other day who we did not operate on because it wasn't safe. It was very borderline though. It was a blood pressure issue, and it was a little too high. And there are patients where I would have looked at that blood pressure and I said, it's a little high. Here's the risks. Let's do the surgery. But this particular patient, it's one of those gut feelings where you're just like, this is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's too high. Go get it fixed, and then let's come back and let's do this safely.
Yeah. I love that I love that you do that. Good job.
Yeah. Thank you.
Accountable and responsible.
Oh, you have to be. Listen, it costs me so much money to cancel a surgery. I mean, it's blocked out surgical time that I have committed to. It is nurses that are there that are getting paid, whether we operate or not.
Time.
And it's lost time that I could have operated on somebody else.
Yep.
So when I walk into a room and if there's a safety issue and I say, "Oh, we gotta reschedule this," I'm taking a huge hit financially. But not just that, I also realize how impactful it is for that patient who's rescheduled, who's structured their whole life around this, who's made this whole day like this is it, to be told not today.
Yeah.
Like, and they get,
tell people hard
most of them understand when you're like, "Hey, this is life and death. This is your safety." Most of them are like, "Okay, it sucks, but I get it." But some of them,
not happy about the whole situation.
No, I have had patients where we've canceled for safety reasons, and they said, "Great, I'll take a refund, and I never want to see you again." And
then you filter out the people that are in alignment with your practice style that way. But I love that you're just going and being in alignment. You're being ethical with yourself. You know what I mean? If you were a bad person, you'd be able to do that and have no guilt or anything associated with it.
Sure.
Isn't that cool?
For sure.
Here's what I like. When I went in there one time to get some Botox, you took my blood pressure. This is how I'm like, oh, he's good. Took my blood pressure and it was super high. I was going through some wild stuff mentally. And you're like, oh.
Therapists have problems too.
Yeah, for sure. And I had my boundaries, not with clients, but with just life in general.
Sure.
Family stuff, not immediate family. It was a long time coming and high blood pressure to the point where you're like, you need to get this addressed. Here's where you go. This is what you do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't like high blood pressure. Okay, see you next time. It was hey, this is something that you need to address.
Yeah. No, you were like, "Hey, buddy, if you have a headache, go to the ER today." It
was pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Wild. Here's story, psychosomatic, right? Your body physically will reflect on your mental alignment, I guess.
Yes.
So my body physically was great. Headaches, migraine, hearing loss. Did you know that?
You were having hearing loss from it?
Diagnosed hearing 30% in my right ear, hearing loss. Isn't that wild?
No, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. Did MRI because this is rough. It was rough. I did some boundaries in my life, and within like a month,
gone. Interesting.
Isn't that just amazing? It just
the body knows. The body is a beautiful thing.
Connected.
I have so I finished this 75 hard program a few weeks ago, and it was, listen, there's pros and cons to that challenge. There's lovers and haters of it. For me, it was a really great experience, and it really helped me. I lost 50 pounds on it. I developed some really good habits around it. I still walk every morning for 45 minutes outside. I try to drink more water. And the biggest difference, though, is my energy levels are through the roof. And
that's awesome.
A lot of people would look at that and be like, well, yeah, dude, you lost 50 pounds. No wonder your energy levels are completely different. But it's so much more than that. It's that program was really more of a mental challenge than it was a physical challenge. And it helped because you have to read 10 pages a day from a self-help book. You have to unbalance toward yourself, where the whole day, like, you're really kind of unbalanced to taking care of yourself. And doing that for that long a period of time, things come into alignment. You don't have time to get out of alignment.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, feel great. My energy's up. People are like, oh my gosh, you're glowing. And you feel that way, though. The body's great.
Yeah, the body is great.
Beautiful.
I wonder, I use this analogy a lot. If you have a big, majestic tree, this is why people, I think, if they do lose weight, a lot of times won't sustain the weight loss because their environment, they're around a bunch of loggers, chopping away. You know what I mean? If there's self-esteem or you're not a good person, shaming, and you're not okay, you're not enough, I think the body will reflect that And the more you believe of your, value, your inner value, the more, if it's unhealthy, the more unhealthy your body will reflect.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I don't know if I said that in the right way.
1,000%.
Yeah.
What you don't know today is that I got chopped down today, pretty significantly. And part of it was, the majority of it was on me. The majority of it was on decisions that were putting me out of alignment. And this person called me out on that alignment, but then used that calling out to really chop me down.
Because there's a difference between calling out, and that's being honest, and truthful. That's okay. But then the shaming piece afterwards.
Yes, it was
chop.
So lots and lots of shaming, and so I came down here with this slouched over, hunched over, bad energy, just feeling crappy. And I had to call up a buddy of mine, Mr. Mark McCormack, who has his own podcast.
Nice.
So I'll call him out on this. You listen to the President McCormack podcast. And he was like, dude, you're not a bad person. We all make mistakes. We all do these things. It's like, and now you've got a job to do. You're going to go in there. You're going to do a great job on your podcast because that's who you are. And he brought me back into that center. Yeah.
He reminded you.
Yeah. And I think what I'm realizing literally like in this second,
I love it,
as I'm telling you this story, is you got to put the choppers away.
Yeah.
Like
you will not grow.
No, the wood choppers need to go away. Align yourself with the builders, whatever the opposite of a wood chopper is.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah.
And
forest and
align yourself with people who are going to bring you back into that center and remind you of who you are and tell you who you are. It doesn't mean surround yourself with yes men, right? I'm not saying surround yourself with people who just tell you how friggin' awesome you are all the time.
That's lying sometimes. Let's be honest. Yeah.
I mean, and he didn't do that. He was like, dude, you fucked up.
Yeah. Guilt is good.
Yeah.
I love guilt.
Yeah. And, but he said, but remember who you are. And
you're a 10.
Yeah, I love it.
You're a 10.
Yeah.
You're not a 7.
Yeah.
You're not all this.
Yeah. Tens have bad days. Tens make bad decisions. That doesn't change who they are at their core.
Guilt is good. I think that would be cool to have everywhere, and billboards and in offices, of just what the difference is between guilt and shame.
Yeah. Guilt is good.
Guilt is good. Guilt, I did something bad. If I trip someone that's going by to second base or something like that, and I tripped them, I'm not being cool. So I'm going to feel guilty. It's not my alignment. And because of that, I'm hopefully not do it as easily again the next time.
Yeah.
Shame. Ooh, you're a bad person.
Yeah.
You're an evil. You're mean. You are something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Guilt is good. Brene Brown tried to teach people that. We'll do better.
Oh, yeah. She does it pretty good.
She does pretty good. She is pretty amazing with the guilt and the shame thing.
And empathy and boundaries. Oh, she goes over all that stuff. Yeah. Powerful. I can't believe we have to leave this thing.
You exceeded expectations. Before we leave.
How dare you? What were your expectations?
They were always sky high. They were always sky high. You know that.
I never know what to expect in these things.
Do you have, I want you to tell kind of where people can follow you, where they can see you, anything else you want to promote at the end.
We have to end?
I know we do.
I just it's a good connection.
It is.
Yeah, it's nice.
It is.
First of all, thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being on.
Yeah. Daring. I said that. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Please.
So yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks for coming.
I like to talk because you never know what's going to come out of my mouth, Nick. You know that. So yeah, I appreciate that. And good work.
Thank you.
Yeah. Keep it up. I love that you're accountable and you're in your ethic zone, aligning, trying to help people. I think that's great.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to do the same thing, man. I think we do the same thing. I think you work on the physical aspects of stuff that isn't needed to be okay, but I'd like to have this. It's my job. That's what I would want.
Perfect.
Yeah. Where I learned the belief system. Do we have time? How much time do we have?
Yeah, I mean, it's 3:20.
Is it 3:20 right now?
Brindy, next person's not here
Son
for 10 minutes.
Oh my God. Okay, so belief systems.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We'll wait till next time.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Till next time. Where can we find you?
Yeah. Here's where I'm at. I've got a couple of things. There's my website. It's www.meaningtolive.com. Therapist. I'm in network with Select Health. And I like to say my clients get to where they don't need to see me. So I am typically pretty open. I only take 4 people a day, which allows for good flexibility and for me time. It takes some time to be human and run a business and be a father and a husband and everything else. So
absolutely. On that Meaning to Live, it's the number 2, correct?
No, Meaning
it's
to
T-O.
Live. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you believe I got that domain name? Can you believe it?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm just making sure we get it right. We'll link it to in the podcast episode.
Meaning to Live. If you want I have a video, free therapy video YouTube channel. I'm all over.
Phenomenal YouTube channel.
Yeah, all over the place.
Super jealous of it.
I can't believe I don't have 1 million subscribers. Isn't that wild?
I'm sure they're amazing videos.
I think I've been shadow banned.
Man, make sure probably by Select Health.
No, I don't. I think it's like, yeah.
Make sure that you do actually check out Jed's YouTube videos. They're little tiny clips and snippets that he puts a lot of work into on just like little nuggets of therapy. They're really beautiful. Yeah. Thanks again, Jed.
That's it. Jed Said Therapy.
Jed Said
You
Therapy.
can find me all over the place online at Jed Said Therapy. Perfect. YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok.
Love it.
Yeah, all the good stuff. Thank you. So this is fun.
Thanks, man.
Let's do it again.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Thank you so much for listening to The Naked Patient Beyond the Operating Room. I'm Dr. Nicholas Howland. Please remember that every patient who appears on this podcast has consented to discuss their story and their surgery on the podcast. That way we remain HIPAA compliant. This is a free podcast. The best thing that you can do for us is to leave us a review online. Let us know what you liked. Let us know what you'd like to hear. Let us know how we can improve. If you are curious about anything related to plastic surgery, you can reach out to me on Instagram at Dr. Nicholas Howland, and I typically respond there, or you can reach us at the office at 801-571-2020, or we have an online form you can fill out at the website, www.howlandplasticsurgery.com. Any of our coordinators would be happy to help you. Thanks again for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Naked Patient Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Till next time.